And Ken Lewis, you're welcome here anytime to talk about it. Tonight, new developments in the outrageous miscarriage of justice of two imprisoned former Texas Border Patrol agents. Ignacio Ramos and Jose Campion have been in jail for nearly 4 weeks. The two were convicted of shooting and wounding an illegal alien Mexican drug smuggler, given immunity by the U.S. Justice Department. Tonight, the government finally released long-awaited, long overdue trial transcripts. Casey Wine is in Los Angeles with the latest on the new explosive evidence in this incredibly just bizarre case. Casey?
Yeah, it sure is bizarre, Lou. The nearly 3,000 pages of transcripts in the Ramos and Campion case show that even before the trial started, several key rulings went against the Border Patrol agents. For example, defense attorneys wanted to be able to talk about how dangerous the border region is where the agents encountered the illegal alien drug smuggler. It's an area, of course, with a well-documented history of violent confrontations between drug cartels and law enforcement. But prosecutors objected to that, and the judge agreed. She ordered defense attorneys to refrain from any mention of what she called the alleged dangerousness of the border between the United States and Mexico. Another passage shows just how eager prosecutors were to grant immunity to Mexican drug smuggler Oscar Aldrete Davila and throw the book at the Border Patrol agents. Assistant U.S. Attorney Deborah Kanoff said to the judge, "We basically had to beg him. He didn't want to come and talk to us about this, and so we basically gave him blanket immunity for any drug or immigration crime that he might have been committing on that day." Agent Campion's defense attorney pointed out how the government could have sought up to 40 years in prison for the drug smuggler. And an attorney for Agent Ramos said the drug smuggler, quote, could be prosecuted for possession of some 700 pounds of marijuana, for smuggling it into the country, for illegally entering the United States. All of these actions are actions with the government, which the government apparently has chosen to forgive in order to obtain his testimony against these defendants, the agents. In fact, prosecutors sought to prevent defense attorneys from even disclosing that Aldrete Davila was transporting 750 pounds of marijuana when he encountered the Border Patrol agents. The judge did allow those facts into evidence, but only on a limited basis, Lou.
This is outrageous. This administration, this Justice Department, the U.S. Attorney in El Paso, the Western District of Texas, Johnny Sutton, have a lot of explaining to do, because also clear here is that drug smuggler, Aldrete Davila, was, in point of fact, he had already confessed to drug possession and smuggling 6 days before he was ultimately given limited use immunity. And the fact is that the U.S. Justice Department, in the person of the Attorney General's office, did not ask that drug smuggler one question about the drug cartel behind him, the safe houses, the transportation routes, the vehicles, or the systems of distribution of those drugs. I mean, it is remarkable.
It really is, Lou, and there's some more new evidence that came out today that we can talk about, and that's regarding the lies that were told by the Office of Inspector General that were disclosed last week to several members of Congress looking into this case. They now say, according to notes from members of Congress, this investigation, according to the testimony from the, not testimony, but according to the statements of the Office of the Inspector General, they say that this investigation began with the Mexican consulate contacting the U.S. government, which contradicts the sworn testimony in this case that the investigation began when a Border Patrol agent in Arizona who had family in Mexico, family of the drug smuggler, was contacted by that drug smuggler. So there are new questions regarding this case seemingly emerging every day, Lou.
So one of the concerns that we had as we began reporting on this case, Casey, is that the Bush administration has been, as has been its wont throughout, was playing a political game here in concert with the government of Mexico and the dominant drug cartels on the northern Mexican border area below El Paso.
That's right, and if these statements by these Office of Inspector General investigators to these members of Congress are true, it would add credence to that theory. Now, of course, we know that they have now admittedly lied during that
on a host
meeting.
Of other, on separate areas.
So we don't know who's telling the truth at this point, Lou.
We do know one thing, that the United States government is lying and has a lot of explaining to do in this case without any qualification whatsoever. And the idea that a federal judge sitting in El Paso, Texas, and a prosecutor sitting in El Paso, Texas, absolutely aware that that is one of the most violent zones along the border with Mexico, a very violent border, the judge would refer to it as alleged violence?
Yeah, she called it, I believe her words were, the alleged dangerousness of the U.S.-Mexico border. I guess everything we've been doing for the past several years just hasn't registered, Lou.
Yeah, and I'm sure it comes as some shock also to Americans north of that border and to Mexican citizens living south of that border that it's alleged to be dangerous. And I suppose also to the U.S. ambassador to Mexico, who has put out travel warnings to all Americans in the region. It's just, all you can do is shake your head at what is, at best, a miscarriage of justice, at worst, something that we will be working very hard to prove. Thank you very much, Casey Wine.
Okay.
Coming up next here, War on the Middle Class. I've been telling you about the problems that anguish our middle class.